Alright guys, so yesterday I did a poll on my Patreon, which is always, if you want to be a part of polls that affect videos here on YouTube, as well as over there on Patreon, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube if you do the third tier, but if you just want to be part of polls as well as check out movie reviews, just hit the first tier, and that's enough. So, like I was saying, I did a poll yesterday talking about the next three-way crossover. And this one won by a landslide. Literally, all the others just got one vote. This one won everywhere. It just beat out everyone else. And it was one I was, in typical fashion, it's the one that I wasn't expecting to win at all. Even though it was a pretty intriguing idea. And that is, you can see right here, Red Dead Redemption Django, as in Django Unchained, in the Valley of Gwangi. So, literally, we are doing Red Dead Redemption, Django Unchained, and one of my favorite movies, The Valley of Gwangi. For those who are unaware, Valley of Gwangi was a dinosaurs versus cowboys movie from Ray Harryhausen. It's one of Ray Harryhausen's best-known stop-motion movies, and while the movie it takes a while to get into, I'm not gonna lie. When we get to the dinosaur stuff, it's the best fucking part. Anyway, so let's do this. So, the story, if you're wondering where in Red Dead Redemption are we, this is the first game, and this is after the events of killing Dutch. Like, this is the events of and John Marston is finally back home. He's trying to get the farm back together. He's back with Abigail, trying to be with his son Jack. But one day, they get a knock at the door, and it's this man from Harvard. And, he's like, hello, this is the Marsden residence, correct? And John's already, got his hand on his gun, can I help you, sir? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to intrude. My name is Professor Winston. I am a friend of a mutual acquaintance of ours, Professor Harold McDougal. And he's like, okay, I know McDougal. How is he? He's like, high as a fucking kite. May I talk to you, Mr. Marsden? And he's like, about a job proposition, if you will. And meanwhile, there's a guy, leaned up against a horse, looking at Marsden all funny, and it's like, is that your slave or something? And the guy goes, I know he didn't say that. He's like, no, this is a business associate of mine. Please, I would like to talk to you, and may I come in? May we both come in? So, Professor Winston talks to John and is like, look, Harry McDougal's an associate of mine. He told me how well of a sharpshooter you were and how you protected him from Dutch Vanderland's gang. And he basically explains, look, I am on an expedition deep into a valley just outside of the Mexican border. It's a valley that is known as the Valley of Gwangi. Now, the natives of the area claim it's home to an ancient god. I'm on an expedition to further explore it, and he's like, what are you, Professor? And John's like, what are you the professor of exactly this? Paleontology, good sir. While McDougal was a man about anthropology, and a lot of his studies were laughable at best, I study the world of prehistoric beasts. And Jack's like, oh, I heard about you. And Jack's like, I heard about you. You're you discover all those dinosaur bones up north. And he's like, quite right, my boy. And he basically says, look, I want to go to the Valley of Gwangi because I believe there's undiscovered, dinosaur bones there. I want to find those bones and bring them to the Smithsonian, but I understand that it's kind of a rough area, so I needed extra protection. And McDougal suggested you when I was looking around for arms help, and he's like, "Is that why you got the other guy?" And he's like, "Oh yes, Mr. Freeman. This is Django. Allow me to introduce you to Django Freeman." And Django's like, "You're Marsden, right? So you're John Marsden." Some slick shit white boy. And he's like, I heard of you, Mr. Freeman. We gonna have a problem? He's like, don't turn a gun on me. Last mistake you ever make. So Winston explains, look, I wanted it, like Mr. Freeman was a bounty hunter. I hired him, and I want to do the same for you. And John at first is like kind of hesitant, and even his wife is like, look, I just got back to my family. I don't need to be gallivanting off around. He's like, please, I understand that. And from what it looks like your funds are kind of low, and you want to fix this farm, right? Well, I'm willing to give you $600. And he's like, 600? Are you insane, sir? He's like, no, I'm very well off. So I can give you $600 for your expedition. And I had to up the ante. I will give you a $300 bonus after our expedition is over. He's like, how long would this expedition be? He's like, I would say no less than a month. He's like, a month away from my family after I just got back here. He's like, look, I know you're upset, but like, listen to me. So so he's like, I'll be in Blackwater if you wish to, talk business. But good day, sir. So they leave, and John and Abigail talk it over, and eventually, like, Abigail's like, look, we need the money. It's only going to be a month. I lost you for so long. I can stand another month. So John meets with Professor Winston and Django, who they've already got like other like cannon fodder. I mean, armed assistants, as well as like other professors and diggers around. So like other archaeologists and whatnot. So it's a whole caravan of people. So, but Marsden and Freeman are John and Django are like the top two. So off to the valley of Gwangi they head off to. And while they're going, like John and Django are like, they're aware of each other. Like it's kind of aforementioned. They've been aware of each other. Like he's like, you killed that motherfucker Kane, right? You killed that motherfucker Calvin Candy, right? He's like, oh no, that wasn't me. That was a friend of mine. He's like, I did kill every other motherfucker in that room, though. He's like, golly. Because John's like, John kind of like has a lot of respect for Django because he heard about how he like gunned down all those like high society people and slave owners. He's like, back when I ran with Dutch, we believed people were free. Even people like you. He's like, people like me? Do I even have to say it, good sir? And he's like, I get it. So, but he's like, I don't understand why you came off so hostile, though. He's like, I don't have the best... And Django just says flat out, I don't have the best relations with white people. He's like... And John goes, fair enough. But then, like, John and Django are both curious about this whole Valley of Gwangi. And, armed escort, they get. But, like, this Valley of Gwangi thing has been kind of weird. Like, they're needed armed guards to protect, while they're digging up old bones. And they even talk to the professor, like, what is this place exactly? It's like... Winston explains that he believes that it is a valley that has, he basically tells them he believes there is a fossil output there that can help better understand the Mesozoic era. He's like, Mesozoic? He's like, dinosaur era. He's like, I got it. So John, Django, and the whole crew, they make it to the Valley of Gwangi, and they see the opening there, and there's a group of people there. There's this village not too far away, and they come over and you go to Gwangi's valley, you are courting death on us all if you travel to the Valley of Gwangi. And they're like, I don't know who this Gwangi is, but he sounds mean. He's like, not as mean as us. So they travel into the valley, and already stuff is they go in there, and it's this rich almost jungle, and they're like, this is definitely not a place for full of bones. And sure enough, they encounter their first they encounter a dinosaur right out the gate. It's a Gallimimus, and they're like, that's a goddamn ostrich lizard. They're like, it's a Gallimimus, good sir. Come on, let's Winston's all excited because it turns out that he'd been kind of stretching the truth. He heard the rumors about the Valley of Gwangi and the stories of the creatures that were sighted there from survivors who've been there. But he never really took it, like, seriously. He'd be like, oh, that's cool. But, like, he always assumed, like, in his head, he was like, I thought that it was just people pulling my leg and just they saw skeletons of dinosaurs. But I did hold hope that maybe these dinosaurs were real. And could you imagine if we could capture some of these live specimens? We would bridge the gap between our era and the age of dinosaurs. So John and Django and the other armed guards, as well as the other assistants, that the other, like, dig teams, go to try to round up dinosaurs. They're finding other species like the Archaeopteryx. They're finding all these other species of animals, and then they run into a Styracosaurus, who pretty much, like, impales one guy through its horn, just throws it off, and they're like, oh shit. It isn't until, like, during the battle with the Styracosaurus that they hear, like, this huge roar, and in comes Gwangi. And Gwangi is, as you guys know, is if you've seen the movie, it's an Allosaurus, and Winston has a theory as to why there were so many different species, because he even notes, like, none of these dinosaurs should exist in the same time period. Like, we've seen some from the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. So he kind of has this theory that the valley was had land bridges, and was like almost like a safe, how geologically it was built and designed, like how geologically safe it was from one epoch after another, that it basically kept, like, a good number of any kind of species that wandered in there. So it was almost like a cradle of life, and that's what, like, any kind of species just kind of wandered in there, and yeah. But Gwangi is the undisputed king of this territory. When Gwangi shows up, he proceeds to just tear ass, and John and Django are, like, just shooting at it, and they're like, what do we, how do you shoot this thing? It's like, I don't know, I never shot a fucking dinosaur before. So they have to fight, they have to do battle with Gwangi. John and Django also, like, wrap up Gwangi by the legs and, like, trip him over and knock him down. And that leads to Winston, like, being like, men, we've captured one of the greatest predators known to mankind. We can bring it to civilization and showcase it to the world. I can even, like, for $900, it's worth the $900, and I'll even give you more. Once we show it to the world, the Smithsonian will have to acknowledge my research. So they're like, well, this is not good. Like, Django and John are already, like, kind of hesitant about the whole thing. Like, they're already like, this is probably going to end really badly. This is going to end really bad. But money is money. So they help, along with the survivors, capture Gwangi and bring him to Blackwater. As you can expect, right when the big unveiling it happens, even, like, Jack and Abigail, John sends word to have Abigail and Jack come to Blackwater to see this big thing he's a part of. And sure enough, shit goes sideways, because remember that little village that warned them about going to Gwangi? Yeah, they followed and unlocked the cage for Gwangi, leading to him being unveiled and a dude getting eaten for all the world to see, leading to Gwangi also breaking out of the cage and leading to a Allosaurus rampaging through Blackwater, eating cops, eating people left and right, and Django and John are both trying to, like, save as many people as they can. Winston himself gets, like, bitten in half by Gwangi, and the battle, like, the dinosaur chases several people into the bank, tries to, like, tear its way in there, where Django and John have to, come up with a plan in order to kill Gwangi. And what they come up with is, there's a military outpost not too far away, and they have, like, an artillery cannon. So if they can aim it just right, they could probably, like, blow the bastard away. So the two of them ride out, get the cannon, and, like, try to aim it, and John has to, like, lure, as Django's trying to operate the cannon, John has to lure Gwangi away from his family who are also being held up in the bank. So John gets chased on horseback by Gwangi until he leads him to Django, who blows Gwangi just directly in the chest. It keeps getting up, and John has to help load it faster and faster. So they have to keep just shooting the shit out of this thing till it finally drops dead. By the end of it, John and Django part ways, and they're like, at least we got the money. He's like, and John's only response is, well, at least we got the money. And he's like, there is that. See you, John. And Django rides off. John returns to his home, back to his farm. And meanwhile, the agents who had forced John into their services are like, I think it's time that we give Mr. Marsden our visit, if you know what I mean. So that's where it ends. Obviously, ending to the last mission that you have in the first game. So there you go. So there it is, guys. That is a crossover I didn't think would win. I just kind of threw it on the poll, and lo and behold, in typical fashion, it wins. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this three-way crossover? It was very exciting because, yeah, I love Valley of Gwangi, and this is the first time I think I've talked about it in a long time. But yeah, you guys tell me. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone who voted in the polls, and other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time, the Multiverse.